This is War for West Virginia. In order to understand how we got to this point, we will need to start from the very beginning.
All of this just works.
After the announcement of Fallout 76, everyone started getting prepared for the game, with people forming communities and all that stuff for all the players that were interested in playing this new multiplayer game, Fallout 76. And what I mean by people forming communities, I mean like 300 Brotherhood of Steels and 300 Enclave groups practically. And whenever there was one UN group, there was usually another, and they would sometimes merge together as one. Fast forward through all the bloodshed and chaos, we get to September, where our story truly begins. You ready for this political nightmare? Let's begin. The Canadian Empire wanted to invade the cult of Mothman, which if they did, it would look a lot like Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. Wait a second. While everyone was trying to solve the situation, another group that goes by the Enclave Empire takes advantage of the situation and claims the northwest part of the map is theirs. While everyone was shocked by what the Enclave Empire did, the Federation, the Union of Sovereign Powers, and the Red Line decided to have a meeting. In this meeting, all three of these groups decided to discuss how to defeat the people that keep undermining their rule. So they came up with an idea. Mainly the Federation and the Red Line, they brought in someone completely crazy. You know him, and you probably hate him. It's Dawn. We're screwed. So they brought in Dawn. They said if Dawn helped them, he'd be given all this land. Eager to get this land, Dawn asked what he had to do. First mission: destroy the Empire Powers chat room. After the chat room raid, Dawn's next mission was to infiltrate the Enclave Empire and destroy them from the inside. So Dawn Caesar's Legion joined as a vassal state of the Enclave Empire. But unaware to Dawn, his allies, the Federation and the Red Line, have decided to betray him as they view him as a threat after carrying out the order to destroy the Empire Powers chat room. So they decided to tell Elite Mercenary, leader of the Enclave Empire. So very quickly, this happened. Dawn lost everything. He lost his job, he lost his car, he lost his family. Dawn's face was revealed to the world. After Dawn was beaten up by everyone, his Caesar's Legion collapsed. But Dawn wanted revenge against everyone that just betrayed him, so he came back as the Roman Empire. If you're curious how the Republic of Minutemen became a thing, here's how it all started.
Intensify forward fire!
To right!
So the Republic of Minutemen met the Red Line. The first few meetings went pretty well, and then there was more meetings, and then eventually a nuclear pact was signed. Very quickly, the Red Line pulled out and caused massive hostilities with the Republic of Minutemen. So the Republic of Minutemen turned to the Federation and joined them as a vassal state. Shortly after, the Republic of Minutemen and Ace Women met, and they both got along pretty well. Both didn't like the Red Line, and believed the Red Line was a threat to all Federation citizens. Both the Republic of Minutemen and Ace Women went to the Federation and demanded that they did something about the Red Line. The Federation said no. So in response, the Republic of Minutemen and Ace Women decided to secede from the Federation. Then the Republic of Minutemen and Ace Women decided to form an alliance called the United Force Alliance. You wanna know who we haven't checked on in a while? Our good friend Dawn. Let's see how he's doing. As it turns out, Dawn is doing pretty well. He's been recruiting a lot of people, by mainly lying to them and promising them positions that they want. So due to the fact that Dawn had the people and the military, everyone is forced to recognize his claims on the map. The Federation of Red Line have decided to form a defensive pact against the Roman Empire. Some people have decided to try to infiltrate the group and destroy from the inside. The most notable person that kept infiltrating the Roman Empire and trying to destroy it from the inside was the vice president of the Federation. You know him, and you more than likely hate him too. It's Martin. Whenever Martin got the chance to infiltrate the Roman Empire, he would always take it, with the full intent to cause as much chaos as livingly possible within the group. Usually Martin would fail, but sometimes he would be successful. He's actually caused a couple of military uprisings within the Roman Empire. Some of the Romans that have left the group have reported that Dawn is mentally unstable. Notably, he has an obsession with Caesar statues. A few military rebellions later, Dawn gets tired of what the Federation and the Red Line are doing to him, so he goes out and starts looking for allies. Dawn eventually runs into the UFA, and he makes quite an impression towards the Ace Women and the Republic of Minutemen, even expressing his hatred towards the Red Line, which immediately granted Dawn a position into the Alliance. This immediately stuns everyone and makes everyone concerned that a war could be imminent. Republic of Minutemen President Savage is concerned that Dawn is planning to start a war and he's going to take advantage of the Alliance. So he attempts to stop Dawn, and then he's overthrown by Jedi, which he becomes the second president of the Republic of Minutemen. Shortly after these events, the Red Line collapses. The Federation at this point believes they're alone, so they try something else. They attempt to rebuild relations with the Republic of Minutemen, which it worked out. President Jedi believed in building better relations to avoid a major war, but his allies, the Ace Women and the Roman Empire, were not having it. They wanted to go to war with the Federation. But that didn't stop the Republic of Minutemen from rebuilding relations with the Federation. The Federation, though, did take a massive step in the relationship by giving the Republic of Minutemen the ability to fire nukes. Eventually, Jedi realized why the Federation were giving them all these things. It was because the Federation wanted to expand their influence. This upsets Jedi, and eventually he gave in to Dawn's demands. The demand was, start a war with the Federation. So they did just that. After Martin's assassination, the Federation then forms a coalition and then declares war on the Roman Empire. Savage, the former president of the Republic of Minutemen, is outraged by what Jedi has done and then decides to start a civil war. Oh, and the coalition gave Savage guns. Jedi's immediate response was to reform the Minuteman government and make it completely authoritarian, just like the Roman Empire. But there was one problem, and that was the Roman Empire and the Ace Women have decided to abandon Jedi. So when Jedi attempted to fight back against the coalition, he lost, then he surrendered. After the Republic of Minutemen unified, Savage then pulled out of the war and then declared neutrality. Which originally, Savage had a deal with the Federation, where if he was in charge, he would join the coalition. The reason why he decided not to join the coalition was out of fear of causing another civil war, which the Federation respected. The Ace Women were outraged by the Republic of Minutemen declaring neutrality. The Ace Women wanted territory from the Republic of Minutemen, and they demanded that the Romans went to war with the Republic of Minutemen. The Romans agreed and then attempted to assassinate Savage, but Savage narrowly escapes the assassination. The Ace Women joins the war against the coalition. The Republic of Minutemen has also decided to rejoin the war with the coalition.